Hello and welcome back to another Kilo Bravo Delta podcast broadcast. You guys, this is the video version and I'm super excited about it. I love podcasting. I got to tell you, I do. I've been super busy. I hope you guys haven't missed me too much, but you're going to enjoy this. This is called the 8-minute drill. I'm going to talk about shutter speed as it relates to technique and something I call technique stacking. We're going to talk about implied motion. We're going to talk about motion, and then we're going to get out of here with some still photos. We're going to get out of here on some still photos. Let's go. Anyway, you guys, let's get this. We only have 8 minutes. I'm only going to keep you for 8 minutes. This is why we call it the 8-minute drill. So let's get going right now. Motion is very important in photography because it's definitely related to time, and time is related to your shutter speed, how long it's going to stay open, and at what shutter speed, at what fraction of the time are you going to create your exposure. Literally fractions of a time. So if you have a camera and you're at 1/8,000th of a second or 1/4,000th of a second, it's going to go by really quick. If you're shooting something more mid-range, shutter speed like 1/60th of a second, 125 or 200, you're going to get a different type of effect. And all that means is it's staying open for a short amount of time and closing. And then you have something more defined, like a 20-second shutter speed. So not only going to let a light in, but you're going to see a lot of blurring and ghosting in motion. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That could be a good thing for you because you can create motion in your still photographs. And here's the ideal. I want you to really think about this. You see the bike rider in the photo? If you're able to look, I know you might be driving listening to this, but there's a bike rider. You see him. I'm using a shallow depth of field that's going to allow just a certain amount of light to come in through the photograph. And then, guess what? I'm matching up my time on the camera, the shutter speed, with the motion of the bike rider. Now that's panning. There's a lot more to it. I don't have that much time, so I got to explain this to you quickly. Remember, this is the 8-minute drill, and I'm using lines, as you can see. So I'm technique stacking. I'm using lines in the street. I'm using my shutter speed. I'm using my depth of field to create a dynamic image, and I'm using motion. As you can see, my person in the foreground, right? Foreground, we go to middle ground, and then we go to background. And you see the line there? The line of people? Well, his leg is kicked up because I'm trying to imply that he is moving and not standing still. I call that implied motion. I want to imply that there's actually motion there. And I'm going to show you another photo in just a second that's completely different where the people aren't. I'm using shallow depth of field and applied motion. Now, these are my terms. This is what I call it, implied motion. Now, in this very next photo, the thing that you're going to see is I'm using all the same techniques, except for I'm using red because I don't have any people in the background. So I want you to stop right there. I want you to go into where those people are standing. They are standing still. You know that. They are blurry. A little different depth of field, right? A little different shutter speed. But as you can see, I want you to see that red and that pedicab, and then you just kind of stop. Boom. You don't go past it. Right? And that's why I chose to do it this way. This is how you can play with your composition. So now, not only do we have all the same elements that I mentioned before, but guess what? We have a red pedicab, so now we're using color. We just added to our technique stacking. We just added color. We have lines. We've got depth of field. We've got slow motion or no motion, right? Almost. I call it slow motion because they're moving, but the people in the foreground aren't. Right? You see how this works out? We call this technique stacking. If you are trying to create impact in your work, these are just small tips, fundamentally, that you can use that are super simple, that you can use in your work to create more compelling and interesting work that people are going to say, wow, about. Now, look, it's really simple. You just got to apply it. Now, let's look at this last photo. It has to do more with depth. right? I made a decision because I wanted you to work through the image three-dimensionally. And when you look at this next image, depth is nothing more than how much we can see going forward. Real simple definition, real simple answer to the question of what depth is. It helps you to create better photos. I want you to start thinking about that. I want you to start thinking about photographic technique. So when you look at this next photo, everybody is completely frozen here because I want you to go right into the name of the company. And then I want you to look at the grittiness. I want it to have a grittiness, because if I use a shallow depth, you would go into the name of the company and stop right there, and it wouldn't have that gritty feel to it. Like, you know what, these are construction guys. They can get the job done. This is the decision you're going to make as a photographer. Now, I shot this both ways, depth of field, shallow depth of field, and depth of field, just in case, the publisher, I shot this for a magazine, by the way, just in case the publisher said, hey, do you have anything with a shallower depth of field? I don't like the messiness. That could happen. So I call this still motion because everything is frozen. There is nothing applying motion. And technique stacking, I just included light and shadow, the contrasting light to shadow aspect of it, you guys. This is how you create technique stacking. So now we've got about 5 different techniques on here. Whether somebody likes the photo or not, they're going to find it interesting because of one, they're going to go to that logo and then they're going to say, wow, it's in shadow. There's light out there. This is how you gain people's attention in your photographs. So look here. I know this is the 8-minute drill. We got less than a minute to go. It's a lot. It's a lot to comprehend. I would invite you to rewind, download, whatever you got to do, but take advantage of the podcast broadcast, you guys, the Kilo Bravo Delta Zone. Take advantage of it. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these 8-minute drills because I just love them. You know what? I'm actually excited about it because I feel like I got to make my point in less than 8 minutes on something that could be complicated. You guys, thank you for listening, and be sure to join me on Morning Motivation, 7:35 Pacific Standard Time, 5 days a week on Periscope. And you can also catch me in the Kilo Bravo Delta Zone on the 7:05 broadcast on Periscope, you guys, and YouTube as well. And be sure to subscribe. If you think this information is of value to you, please subscribe, and you can leave me comments and messages. You know what? I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. I want to thank you for listening. I really appreciate you guys, and thank you. I'll see you next time in the 8-minute drill.